Good morning, brothers and sisters. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Christian, and I'm primarily a musician. But over the course of the past month, I've decided to start making videos, sharing all these different experiences that have made me who I am, and have changed my perspective. For those of you who are also going through a lot, I think a lot of us are, or at least, a lot of the people that I know personally, but there are so many more of us that are going through a lot. And I think it's very easy to feel like we're alone in our own, suffering and healing and, self-exploration. It is a very personal practice, but I think it's nice to know that you're not alone. And also, sometimes sharing, these are the things that I like, I guess, maybe I'm gravitated towards, but I like hearing from other people and gaining their perspective in a way. So hopefully there's something that you can gain from this, especially considering what I want to talk about today, which is my only experience with LSD or acid. It was the beginning of 2019, I remember. It was very cold. I was living in this very small room, and I also decided to do it alone. The only reason why I decided to do it alone is because I'm very, very grounded in my practice, and this was 2019, so I had been practicing for almost 10 years. Just like meditating, journaling, and learning to kind of just be my own guide and ground myself. Typically, when you do psychedelics, especially for the first time, it's probably best to do it with someone else who is not on the psychedelic, that you just trust and you could just share a safe space with. And some of us are able to do these things alone, but I think for the most part it is a lot more beneficial to do them with at least one other person. I decided to do it indoors as well. Obviously, it was the beginning of 2019, so it was a little cold outside, but I also wanted to, I was sitting with my journal, and I had a few different things open on my computer, like playlists to listen to and whatnot, and so I had like an intention set. And I even wrote, because I had no idea what this was going to be like, right? Like, when you never do psychedelics before, like, you just have no idea what to expect. And you could listen to all these different stories and stuff like that, like I did. And still, you have no idea what's going to happen for you, because a lot of people say, like, everything is different. And obviously, I think a lot of experience is subjective. So that totally makes sense to me. But so on my bed, I had my journal, I had my lyric books, I even wrote out on my hand, "You're okay," just in case I lose myself, right? Because, growing up, I think a lot of us think, through movies or through media or whatnot, that, LSD, you see all these, crazy, weird things, and they're all over the place, and, and if you have a bad trip, things are coming after you. And so I wanted to prepare myself just in case things did get pretty wacky. Now I just did one tab, and it exactly 46 minutes after taking it is when it kicked in. I had a playlist going, I think some lo-fi beats with Alan Watts talk or something like that. And 46 minutes in is when it kicked in, and I felt it almost right away. Sorry to say, no flying purple one-eyed monsters or, goblins running around or whatnot. What essentially happened was everything went in this hyper 4K. I was looking at everything, and it was hard not to see how beautiful it was. It's an extreme, it heightens your emotions. and I guess this is like my experience anyway. So like, again, it could be different for you if you haven't done it before. If you have, like, share it in the comments below. I'd like to hear what your LSD experience was like, because I just find this so fascinating. This really kind of put things into perspective for me. Like, I was looking around like my dirty little room that, you know, just was incredibly imperfect, confined in space, and, you know, a little dirty in the corners, and a little bit of an air of sadness, you know. Like, I think when you're comfortable alone and you're in a comfortable place in your life, solitude doesn't feel like this scary, dark, you know, lonely thing. But in 2019, coming out of 2018, I was really going through it. And a lot of things were, you know, like, to come for the year that I wasn't really prepared for. But just to keep all of that brief, I was just looking around, and I started crying. Everything looks so beautiful. Like, I guess I describe it as like a hyper 4K kind of thing, but like, there was like an emotion behind everything I was seeing. And it wasn't a different emotion either. It was just like this collective, like, beauty, this harmonious feeling. I don't even know, like, emotionally what the label would be for that. It just felt so, like, beautiful. And there were certain things that I was listening to, you know, like the Alan Watts talk, Ram Dass, all these different things that were coming through. And so, like, I guess hearing just like the deep, profound spiritual teachings of these people, while I'm kind of just like looking around, looking outside my window, looking on the floor, I did wind up journaling a few things, but they were kind of just like things that I heard from the talks that really like resonated with me. Specifically with this trip, I wasn't getting any downloads or channeling anything. It was more so kind of just experiencing the beauty in ugliness. That's essentially what I think my LSD experience was, to put it as plainly as possible. It was just showing me how beautiful the mundane is, how beautiful the ugly and the dirty, you know, the things that we take for granted, or the things that we actually don't think are too good or are nice in any sort of way. It was literally beyond words. And this is me trying to put it to words, I guess, but, you know, it wasn't just what I was seeing and what I was feeling from what I was seeing, but also the different talks that I had on that I was listening to. And I also put on some East Forest as well, which is perfect for, you know, when you're tripping or meditating. And I was just being moved by all the things that I was hearing. Like, there were certain things that would pull me deep into like a pit of sadness. And then there were certain things that would just make me laugh hysterically. Almost like you're in on the cosmic joke in a way, right? But you're not like intentionally, like your ego isn't there, really. You're just, what it did was it made me just pure awareness for the moment that I was in. And the different things that I was listening to, or the different things that I was seeing, I was just seeing how profound and impactful they were. So, I guess long story short, it's very easy to take everything for granted, especially like the boring and the mundane. and we have like goals and desires in life, so it's kind of hard to like see where we're at and be content with it. But that's exactly what LSD did. LSD stripped back like this ego thing, where you are just kind of just like caught up in yourself. And so for however long this trip was, maybe an hour, maybe less, I just was not caught up in myself. Wasn't caught up in my head. I wasn't thinking about the future. Obviously, I had planned out my trip and set all these intentions, but like, I wasn't really, there was no rigidity to it at all. I was just experiencing stuff. Like, here I had all these things laid out on my bed for me to like journal or go through and listen to and stuff, and I'm just staring at the floor. Or I'm just like leaning up against my window, just staring outside at like what wasn't a pretty landscape, but under the influence of LSD, it looked whole. It looked like a holy painting outside. So that was pretty much my experience on LSD. I'm sure if I took a little bit more, or you know, if the tab that I took was a little stronger, maybe my experience would have been more intense visually. But the funny thing is that like what I was seeing, even though it was just like everyday life, it was like very, very HD. So it was still visual. I just wasn't seeing things that weren't there. I was just seeing the things that were there, but I was seeing them in such a vivid way that it was impacting me emotionally. And it gave me this new perspective for things that like I actually don't appreciate. And obviously, I'm a human being. This was years ago, so I will still take things for granted or still be caught up in myself, you know? So like, it's not like you have a trip like this and then it changes your life forever, but it has made me more aware. And in that moment, I think because like I wasn't in the happiest place, both physically and mentally and emotionally, it showed me that where I was actually was a lot nicer than I I guess I just, like all of us, you know, we want things to be a certain way. And so when they're not, we don't like it. But I still had a roof over my head, you know, I had shelter from the cold and from the rain, and you know, I had all my stuff, and I was listening to these beautiful talks and beautiful music, you know, and things were alive outside. So it's almost like it was this beautiful perspective that I just wasn't holding space for until I did LSD. So I guess I'm not against trying it again, you know, under the right circumstances. Given how I started this video, maybe I would like to try and do it with someone that would, you know, just share the space with me and kind of watch over me, especially if like I decided to do like a stronger dose, or, you know, if it was just strong. Because like, this is the thing is like when you're buying stuff from people, like how are you really supposed to know what you're getting? It's not like a dispensary exists for LSD yet. So yeah, this was, you know, a pretty brief one. If I do revisit LSD, I would love to share my experience with it. But until then, I hope you all be well, and let me know what your experience is like, if you had it or if you haven't had it yet. I love sharing. Thank you.